right, I see people slowly trickling in. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this first ever Independent Venue Week panel series. The session, Get Schools, Putting on Your First Show, begins shortly. To those of you who don't know me, I'm Cecilia Nilsson, Director of Special Projects at Marauder, and I've overseen Independent Venue Week since its 2018 US inception. Independent Venue Week is an annual week-long celebration of independent venues and the people who own, run, and work in them, some of whom you're about to meet. With over 140 participating venues in 80 cities across 33 states, this edition of Independent Venue Week is the biggest one yet. It's also more urgent and relevant than ever as we're facing potential loss of 90% of our independent venues. That is why Independent Venue Week is also hosting an auction benefiting the NEVA Emergency Relief Fund to help those venues and promoters in the most need. We at Marauder, the team behind the American edition of Independent Venue Week, would like to take this opportunity to thank every single venue, artist, speaker, and auction donor that are taking part in this very different edition of Independent Venue Week. Special thank you to our partners, Eventbrite, Big Room, Ascent Insurance Brokerage, and School of Rock. I urge you guys to check out independentvenueweek.com for this week's full program and an overview of these auction items that I just alluded to. And now I welcome you to Get Schools, Putting on Your First Show, and hand it over to our moderator, Kerri Park from World Cafe Live in Philly.
Thanks so much, Cecilia, and thank you to everyone involved in Independent Venue Week. Cecilia, Moose, Bobby, and the whole team at Marauder, very fortunate to be here today, and really excited to bring you this panel, Get School, Putting on Your First Show. And I'm also really excited to introduce our panelists today. We have a great group, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Cindy, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm Cindy Barber. I co-own the Beachland Ballroom and Tavern in Cleveland, Ohio. It's an old Croatian social hall that we purchased 20 years ago and converted into a venue with 2 rooms. We have a 500 capacity ballroom and a 150 capacity tavern. So we've been running, we just had our 20th anniversary at the beginning of March, and by March 15th, we were shut down.
Thank you so much for being here. Eric.
Hi. My name is Eric Sosa. I am the co-owner and booker for Come On Everybody in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. We're a queer and Latinx owned and operated music venue that focuses on showcasing newer and emerging artists, much like a lot of you all that are tuning into the panel today. We opened in 2015, and we were just about to celebrate our 5-year anniversary in June, but of course, we couldn't do that. So hopefully next year.
No anniversary celebrations this year, but next year, huge anniversary celebrations.
Great.
And Smitty, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew Smith, also known as Smitty to most people. I'm the general manager and talent buyer of the UC Theater, a 1,400 cap general admission venue in Berkeley, California. We have been open. We would have celebrated our 5th anniversary this coming April in 2021. The UC Theater is a historic movie theater that that was built in 1916, that we converted in 2014 and 15 and opened up in 2016. We do about 100 shows a year. Previous to that, I was the talent buyer for several venues in the Bay Area, doing about 550 shows a year throughout several venues. So very excited to be here and talk to you about what we know.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And also thank you to everyone joining us today. There won't be a specific question and answer period at the end, but if you do have questions along the way, please feel free to type them into the box and I'll keep my eye on them as we go forward. The place I'd like to start is really at the beginning. I'd love to hear about what you would say are the first steps, the first time that you either booked a show or that you would recommend as now with your positions in the venues that you have, how someone could go about really putting on their first show and what those first steps look like. Eric, how does that look for you?
For me, it's, I think it's starting with yourself first as an artist, practicing, working with your band, or if you're solo, rehearsing and working with yourself, making sure that you are, when you first take the stage, that you are the best you can be. And when you are going to start playing out your first show, do your research, know the venues that are right for you in your community. Yeah, that's like kind of the start, I think, for me.
Excellent. That's great. And Smitty, what does that look like for you from your perspective as a talent buyer today?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to come in as an artist, a lot of what I would want to see, especially working with you in a smaller cap room, because we don't have a lot of people that play their first shows at the UC Theater unless you are an internet sensation kind of overnight. But a lot of times I want to look at somebody who appears to be motivated. Obviously, at this level, you have to market yourself. A lot of times in the smaller venues, you're not going to have a machine that can market it. So, I don't want to work with people who have the attitude that, like, I book a show with you and then I have to do all the work to bring all of your friends out, right? Absolutely. So I want to see someone who has that going on. Anytime, I work with a developing band, I'll look at their socials. I'll see what kind of interactions they have. I'll see, how much output they have. I want to work with bands that are actively pushing forward. If you're still working behind the same songs that you put out 3 years ago, and you're playing in the market every like 2 weeks and like one post and no interactions, then that doesn't really seem appealing. So motivation is a huge factor that I do, and I pry on bands about what they'll do and what they'll go out, and I hold them to it.
That makes a lot of sense. Cindy, following up on that, how does a new promoter or a new artist or band that you've never worked with stand out to you and really help you make the decision that you're going to put them in your space?
Well, I think all of the everything everybody said, mostly that you have a you kind of have to think business wise. So, I mean, we're going to make sure they have a band Facebook page and band, social media, that it's not just in somebody's name. It's good to see that they have fans, that they've already like produced some kind of product, that they've made the effort to go into a recording studio and actually done something, whether it's put up on Spotify or Bandcamp, or it's an actual pressed product. That really helps. I mean, in Cleveland, I mean, we're trying to help local bands in more focusing on their like CD release parties, because that way you can kind of blow it up and get people's attention a little bit more, because you've just created a product. We are pretty legendary for launching the Black Keys. So, the Black Keys sort of bullshitted their way through the Alive record label and told them that they'd been playing for a year already and they had all these fans. It was total lies. I mean, they just recorded this first album in the basement and got signed, and then they had to play their first show. So, we bumped them through and saw how talented they were and really made an effort to put them on shows that would get them attention, and paired them with somebody that would take them to the next level. So I think once you're in a place where you've got some ducks in a row, then if you work with a venue or a talent promoter, they can help take you a long way.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it, though, right?
Right. I guess sort of like piggybacking on that, something what Cindy said is, get your assets in place. And when we say assets, your press picture, your bio or a blurb about yourself, your Bandcamp page or a SoundCloud link, your Facebook, your Instagram. Having all those things in place when you're first starting your career, I think is really important, especially when you're pitching yourself to a venue as a new artist. It's great to provide all those things in one place. I think the worst thing to get is like an email where there's just like, please book me. And, having everything sort of lined up really helps our job and presents yourself really well to us that you're taking this very seriously.
And I think, you know, and I'll also piggyback on that. You know, the communication style is so incredibly key. You know, having your name or your artist name show up in the inbox, and not just, you know, a blank slate, like actually filling out all the fields on your email setup so that it comes across, having a signature, and also being responsive. And if you're not going to be responsive for some reason, put on an autoresponder. What you have to realize is that talent buyers in particular, we live in our inboxes. Like, it's just nonstop inbox and telephone. So, you know, if I send an email to you and you want to play a show and I respond, or I reach out to you for an opening slot and you don't respond for 48 hours, like right off the bat, it's a red flag. So if you're out there and hustling and want to get shows, you have to stay on top of that stuff. Because if I can't get a hold of you to give you a great opportunity, then chances are I'm not going to be able to get a hold of you when I need something now in regards to making the show a success.
And sign your emails with your name. If you have a moniker or, you know, a band name, you know, I've often come across emails where I don't know who I'm talking to. And if I know who I'm talking to, it just makes the interaction not just professional, but personal too.
I think that's great advice. And would you guys say that your experience is that most of the new talent or new promoters that you're coming across is coming through via email? And if so, how do those emails, you know, we all live in our inbox, yes, Smitty said, so how do certain emails stand out over others?
Honestly, I like it when something is very succinct. You know, I don't need to know your life story if you're coming up with, you know, what I like to hear from a band, and, you know, I'm kind of breaking this down to what your first show is, you know, hi, we're X, we're from X, we can draw this many people, and we're generally available for shows. What do you have? And a link to your music. Always link to your music. I need to know what you sound like and what you do. But, you know, when I get something that's like 5 paragraphs long, like we're so-and-so from somewhere and we found it on these principles, and then it goes to, you know, our vision of the world is this, and then our politics are this, and our album was recorded in the woods with X producer and has this vision. I don't care. Like, I do care, but I don't have time to like filter through all that, and chances are I won't get past the first paragraph. So, you know, be succinct, clear, and that's your best bet for me.
Yeah. And a lot of us are just like, you know, a lot of us in smaller independent venues work alone. We don't have a huge programming staff. So, you know, we have to tackle a lot in a day. And so, you know, having a very lengthy email to go through can be a little bit, you know, of a downer. So just, yeah, make it sharp and make it, you know, be very direct and to the point. Be professional, but also be personal. Don't call me dude or man. But like, be nice. And that's a big thing for me. We get a lot of our newer artists that come to us are a lot of like references. So those are the emails that I will sort of gravitate towards first. If I get a pitch from someone that's like through another artist that's played here, or someone that I know, that's always very helpful too. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's great.
Sorry, I was reading a couple of questions here in the chat, so I don't know.
Yeah, we did. Sure, yeah.
That.
That's okay. We did get a question in the chat from someone. So once we talk about, you know, getting a show and what that looks like, I think the next obvious turn is promotion. So we have a great question in the chat asking for best recommendations on promotions, particularly hiring and managing a quality promotion team. Any thoughts on that?
Well,
yeah, I mean, you know, one thing that you'll find is most production and promotion team people out there aren't full-time anywhere. So you get a lot of gig workers. So what I like to recommend is, you know, go to events and go to clubs and, you know, look at how other people are marketing themselves, you know, both, you know, as a promotion end and then as a production end, and find those people and reach out to them and, you know, talk to them. Most, you know, it may seem intimidating to like break down those walls, but most production managers will take your call, and most, you know, production managers are going to have a swath of people that they work with. So, you know, go out, find someone who's doing something you like, and talk to them and find out if they are willing to work with you. I mean, some people might be out of your scale, some people might be happy to, you know, help you, but it's all about, you know, fishing out what you're seeing out there in the ecosystem in general.
You know, and a lot of us, you know, I love, I mean, it's tough to promote every single show that we have here on our end, but talk to your booker, and if your venue has a marketing team, talk to them as well and see how you can maybe get another mailing list and have you featured, or how you can do any sort of like cross promotion or be promoted to a specific list that might be from a previous artist that you're similar to. So I think talking to your venue as well about how you can best promote your show is really helpful too, because a lot of times we'll have really good tips.
I mean, in piggybacking on that, yes. I mean, I think one of the things you're asking is how do you put a team together? I mean, I would say, and I'm specifically responding to Ariel Gonzalez here in the chat, that maybe partnering with a venue like one of us, because we already have a whole team of people. I mean, I have a 3-person marketing team that, you know, is on Instagram and Facebook, and we're sending out emails. We have a kind of a small mailing list, but they're really hardcore users. So like 35,000 people. So developing a relationship with a venue, if you're an outside promoter, we deal with a lot of people who are casual promoters, and they might come into our room and do, you know, 20 shows a year, but then we're providing them with a sound system, competent sound engineers, a whole marketing team. We've already got that infrastructure in place. So it's good to find the venue that you can work with, or that production team in your market. And if you have an idea for music that you love, and that's kind of how people start out, I think, in putting on shows.
And one thing that I see that a lot of people who are coming into this industry and promoting shows omit is just the marketing budget in general. You know, you should, whatever you think you're going to spend on marketing, double it and budget for that. And if you don't spend it, great. But, you know, you need to, you know, tailor that. And, you know, if you don't do that, you're not even going to be able to hire a team, but then, you know, they're not going to be able to sponsor posts or put up posters or, you know, get mailing list, you know, buys and that sort of thing, which is one thing, is definitely capture every email you possibly can. If you put on, one great way to develop your promotional experience is to always make a deal with a venue where you get the emails from the ticket buyers and that sort of thing. But a couple of big faux pas is don't add all those people, and especially don't add the talent buyer to just a general, this is what we're doing today, email blast. Like, use those as a targeted marketing opportunity in the future. And that's probably the best way. I mean, we see a one-to-one, not a one-to-one, but, you know, if we send an email blast at the UC Theater for a show that's struggling, we always see an uptick in tickets to some degree, like immediately within an hour of it going out. So it's a very valuable resource.
That's great. I do want to follow up on that with a related question from the Q&A asking, what would you say percentage-wise on average in a regular time are shows that you go after versus shows where artists came after you to book them? Where's that leverage there in terms of how much space do you have for artists who are actively seeking your room out to perform versus how many artists are you actually going after?
Well, I think it's a threshold depending on the size of the venue. The smaller the venue, the more people are coming at you. The larger the venue, the more you're going after stuff, because the competition gets inherently greater the more tickets that you can sell. So, you know, it's when I was booking a small cap room, like a 300, it was my inbox was just filling up with bands, touring bands, local bands all the time. Now it's more, you know, I go out and fish for avails from agents constantly, like just calling people like, what's going on? And some stuff does come in and people do request avails and that sort of stuff. But, you know, as an independent in a crowded market, it flips at about 500 to 600 cap. That dynamic flips over.
Any comments from you, Cindy or Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, our cap is like 150, so we're pretty small. So at this point, most of the shows that I program here are all like coming from people that are reaching out to me directly. In the beginning, when we first opened, I was definitely doing a lot of hustling because we were a newer space that people didn't know about. But at this point, it's mostly folks that are coming to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we at our size room, I mean, we're 500, and we are, you know, a lot of the traffic of performers that we get is through booking agents. So we have relationships with certain agents that know your room and know how they're developing an artist and what size room they need. So we sort of rely on agents to tell us this is a great band, you need to have this play in your room. So most of our bookings is through agents. But then we also peel off local people that we want to help and make an effort to put them opening slots wherever we can to give them a bigger audience. So we're sort of acting as like a development agent. And oftentimes we want to see local bands try to develop a management system, you know, so we would like to hear from an agent or a manager to say, we're getting this business together for this artist, and we know we've got a marketing plan, and this record's going to drop on this Friday, and therefore this tour is set up for the next 3 weeks, and that's why we're doing it this way. So it's all very well thought out.
So following up on that, we have another question. We've talked a lot about what makes someone pursuing you attractive via their email or via their assets, but what are the things that you focus on as a venue that make yourselves attractive to both musicians, managers, and agents, as you referenced, Cindy, to make sure that artists who do have a choice of where to play are looking and choosing your room?
Yeah,
Well,
Eric,
Who wants to go first?
Who's going to go first?
I can go if you want.
Okay, cool.
I will say, like, for our programming, I mean, we program across the boards, but we specifically focus on POC and queer artists across many genres. So we get a lot of those demographics coming to us because they know that's what we program here. Does that answer the question?
I think there's so many answers. I think it's really all about how you're going to set yourself apart. Because as we know, at certain cap rooms in certain markets, it can be very competitive. And so I think there are many different answers to that. Cindy, I know you had an answer as well.
Yeah, so like I'm kind of in a Shark Tank out here. You know, we're the largest independent standalone venue. Like Ape is an independent promotions company and has many venues, but we're the largest standalone venue that's independently operating the long shot amongst giants. I mean, I'm not only dealing with Live Nation and AEG, but I'm also dealing with Another Planet. I mean, I have the same cap as the Fillmore, right, in San Francisco, the original Fillmore. So, you know, I have to go against a lot of heavyweight stuff and a lot of heavyweight history. And for me, it's all about creating a top to bottom, seamless, easy experience for the artist from the booking level. So it's like being responsive to the agent, getting them an offer in time, and then immediately upon confirming a show, like challenging dates very quickly, then immediately hitting the ground marketing, making sure that my team has all the information on the show very quickly so that all of the pieces that start coming together are happening very quickly, so that, you know, an agent knows that when they get to me, they're going to get their marketing plan, and our marketing plan are going to sync up and go out quick. The show's going to go on sale on time with the rest of the tour. They're going to get a production advance in the right way. And then once the artist shows up, they know that we create the highest level space for them to play. We try to create the best experience for both the artist and the fans. So the artist knows when they're coming in, their fans are having a great experience, they're safe. You know, we're very responsive to all issues from, you know, fights to harassment to, you know, people, medical issues, that kind of thing, getting them in and out quickly. But also for the artists, when they show up, we realize that this is their home for a day. So making sure their riders fulfilled and that, you know, we're there on time, we're giving them everything they need, the stage is set how they want, we're going above and beyond on the rider requirements. Oftentimes we provide gifts for the artist. If the show's doing well, we'll, you know, do a little research, we'll like hit the manager on the side and be like, what do they love? And, you know, we've done everything from bring in a litter of puppies, literally, for Nicholas Jar to, you know, rolling trays. He loved puppies. Like that
Did
was
he
like
take
his
them
manager
home?
would be called. We're like, what is Nico Jar like? Well, he doesn't really like things. He's not really materialistic. And they were like, he loves puppies. So we called the ASPCA. And,
What happened to the puppies afterwards?
yeah, well, he walked through the green room. We opened up the crate and these puppies ran out and he like rolled on the floor with them for like 20 minutes. It was like, oh, and then after that, it was like smooth sailing. So
Meanwhile, I'm like, here's a drink ticket.
Well, you know, at the smaller clubs, yeah, it's like drinks and food, you know, and the biggest thing is you always have to pay people. Like if you don't pay anybody, like if word gets out that you haven't paid something, it ripples across the industry and you just get boxed out quick. So
I will say, like, it's, you know, speaking on that, it's as venue owners and bookers, like it's our job to make sure that you have the best experience. A lot of people come back to our space and play it quite often because they love being here. They love the vibe that we've created. I'm very hands-on. We create a very personal and professional experience, and I think that means a lot to a lot of artists. They don't get that everywhere. So it's really our job to make sure that whoever's coming to play our room feels like they're at home.
Yeah, I mean, we started out in 2000, you know, very naive, just trying to, like, you know, start a club. I'd been an editor of a newspaper before I did this. So, you know, when we started doing homemade food for all these bands, and it started to ripple through the community. Oh, wait till you get to Beachland, you're going to get fed really well. So people started calling instead of pizza.
Yeah, food goes.
We were making chicken marsala and things like that for people.
That's amazing.
Food goes such a long way. Like we bring in for our like big Hawaiian, like having a food vendor like that, you know, like if you can't make it yourself is great. Like we bring in like a like island style barbecue for our reggae and Hawaiian acts, and you know that's you're so on the point there, Cindy. Like, you know, they say you could win someone's heart through their stomach, and that kind of goes all across the spectrum of people, including bands.
I think it's really important to mention too the fact that we all talk to each other. Even in the most competitive of markets, people talk to each other, especially about, because a lot of times artists that start in small clubs and do pretty well and are looking to step up their capacity, whoever they go after next will go back to where you played before and say, hey, how did this go? And so I think it's really important to acknowledge the fact that talent buyers talk to each other, venues talk to each other, artists talk to each other, and everybody sort of finds out like, hey, this band was on time and was really great and brought out a lot of people. That goes really far. And hey, this band was late and we couldn't get a hold of them and nobody came. That also goes just as far. And I think the same can be said too of accommodations, just as you guys mentioned. So I think it's really important. I think the one theme that's coming up here too is networking and how critical building that relationship can be. What would your best recommendations be for someone either new to music or new to thinking about putting on shows and promoting or operating a venue, or just new to a new city who may not have those connections yet? What would be your best advice for where to start or who to tap into first?
I would say, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, take it. No.
I would say go to shows as much as possible, and see live music playing. Stick around. A lot of artists hang out at the bar afterwards. Like, get to know the scene. That's what I would say to a new artist that's sort of looking to themselves in this world.
Yeah, that's so dead on. Like, I forget who you could attribute the quote to, but they said 98% of success is just showing up. And that's true. When I got my start booking shows, I just went to shows every night, multiple shows a night, every night. Just go out, be there. People start to recognize your face. You know, you start showing up at the same venues all the time. You're going to make friends with people that work there. You're going to make friends with the people who are performing there. But nobody gets their start in this business off their couch. You can't do it on email. You have to press flesh. It's just, and I know that's tough to do in these times, but you know, it's there's not a lot of jobs right now in these times, but when there is, you have to be out there. So
yeah, I saw a question in the chat about how to become a booking agent, and I think that just, I mean, hanging out at a venue and being willing to help, because we all struggle with like filling our room. I mean, we have two rooms and we're booking 7 days a week, so we're doing 10 to 12 shows a week. We could use help. So if you hang around and you like come up with an idea, or say, hey, I'd like to try to put on a show, and then cut a deal with us and say, you know, I would like to get 20% of what's going to come in at the door to help cover my time, that's very fair, as long as you can deliver bodies. So being a booker for a venue is actually pretty easy to do. You just like jump in and do it.
yeah. And you know, it's, you know, there's also a point, you know, there, as far as like full on booking positions, like there's not a ton of those. Like as a promoter, it's very easy to, if someone calls me up and is like, I want to bring a successful show into your room, and they seem like they have their scruples together, I'm in, right? And we get everything on a paper trail. But if you actually want to be a booker, like in a club or do that kind of thing, sometimes you might have to kind of take a job within the organization that's just tangential to booking, like be on the marketing team or be, you know, on the stage or something like that, because eventually you're going to get the ear of people in the club, especially if you're in marketing, because you're marketing a band, you're, you know, hitting people who have similar taste, you're digging up other bands who are local, that kind of thing, and you start developing this kind of cadre of artists that you may discover. And honestly, like I've learned so much by listening to my employees and like the students in CCP about music. Like I don't have enough hours in the day to discover everything that's hot out there. So I'm always open to that. And there's been people who have come up through our organizations who just happen to be that person. It's like, have you heard of these guys? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, they got something going on. Have you heard of these guys? Oh, they got something going on, you know, and you find someone who has an ear and then they get lifted up.
I think that's great advice. I also think we've had a very nice vacation into the land of booking shows and having 10 to 12 events a week. But however, I don't think we can ignore the climate that we're in now, and the fact that most of us are closed and have been closed since March, which I think can be very challenging for people thinking about entering this field. So what would you say is the thing that has changed the most for you, and how that could maybe apply to the best advice you could give for someone who's really just at the point where they were getting started when all of this happened?
Well, first off, if you're going to be booking shows during this time, you're looking at Q3, Q4 of 2021 at the earliest. If you're calling people up for holds in February or March of 2021, like no one's going to take you seriously. But you know, things have changed. Like, yeah, I'm booking shows a year, 2 years out now. It's just kind of a crapshoot. Booking streams, like that's a whole different ball of wax, although it kind of really shakes out as like a door deal after expenses. But you know, also what's changed a lot is the current landscape of the agency world. I don't know, you know, who pays, like how many of the people in this in the audience, you know, understand the whole agency dynamic, but there used to be 4 or 5 major players in the industry: William Morris, UTA, APA, Paradigm, and CAA. And those, they kind of controlled the majority of the talent that was appropriate for my room within those organizations. And there were boutique agencies. Those are collapsing in short order. I mean, a couple of them are still well funded, but you know, Paradigm basically collapsed, and they were like, everybody looked at Paradigm was like, they're the biggest agency in the world. soon, right? They're just blowing up. They're on Hollywood Boulevard, boom, and then just came down. So now tracking where all those agents go is like, oh man, I've done so much business with this guy, but I don't have a personal phone number. So I actually find most of my days, I'm like tracking people down. Like, where are you? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Like, let's reconnect. So it's been an interesting time period just with that. I mean, we're talking hundreds of agents that are now just out in the ecosystem, and they took their clients with them. But it's been interesting to have that be such a major part of my day.
I'm kind of wondering if we're going to go back a little bit to the old days where before, people were just sort of going from town to town. You might talk to a club in Chicago and they say, oh, I've got a really good local band, I'll send it to Cleveland, and Cleveland's got a good local band and they'll send it to Chicago. That, those were kind of like what happened in the early days of this clubs. And I'm wondering if that's what's going to happen for a little bit now, because national bands can't afford to go out on tour and do a bus. So we're going to have to fill our rooms as this kind of comes back online. So it may be a bit more of an opportunity for local bands to try to get a start and an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Smitty, you mentioned a promoter calling you and Cindy, you mentioned the volume that you do, calling you and saying, hey, I have a package show ready to go, ready to book, fans in order. What happens, or what best advice could you give for someone that isn't connected enough to put a whole show together, but either as a solo artist or a solo act is still looking to connect and be a part of a show like that? What kind of advice would you have for an artist in that position?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, believe it or not, when you're in that position as a band who's starting out or a solo performer that wants to be added to shows, in general, like when you're booking a smaller cap room and you're filling out a bill, you're actually looking for a band that can bring a specific amount of people, right? And that could be 25 people, that could be 250 people. So I think one of the biggest things is if you're trying to get good shows, don't overexpose yourself in the market and work really hard and be patient until you can get a good show, and then bring every person out and make it a thing, right? It's one of the biggest kind of counterintuitive things as you're a local band, is that playing all the time hurts you, right? It's like you need to kind of spend time putting out material, putting out content online, and then play shows more sporadically. And that's the best way that I've seen people get their start, is someone who's like out there pumping out tunes like as a solo performer, which is a very difficult place to be in, as far as like gaining traction in a lot of levels, is putting stuff out online, putting stuff on Instagram, putting stuff on YouTube, putting out content, writing songs, that kind of thing, but not playing out, and then saying, just pounding and be like, I can bring 40 people to this show, or I can bring 50 people to this show. And then as soon as you get that gig, you go whole hog, mom, dad, cousins, uncles, girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, boyfriends, friends of friends, everything, animals, whatever. And you bring those people into the room. Not only are you going to live up to your promise, but then the promoter is going to notice you and be like, wow, 40 people left when they were done, right? And that makes a big difference. But, don't overexpose yourself and make that play the biggest night of your life so far. And that goes a long way for someone starting out.
That's great advice.
I mean, the other thing that you can do too is like network with other quality level bands. Find some friends that are similar style music where you might share fans and really put a show together with 3 equally strong bands, and then the venue might take it, as a package.
Yeah, I love that. I love when a band works really hard to put together a bill that's cohesive and smart and good, and is like, hey, I have this lineup, 3 bands, like, what do you have? Let's do it. And I'm like, great, let's give it a shot. And also if you don't have those connections to other bands and you're looking to make those connections, and you really want to play a specific venue, it's like we were saying earlier, just like support that venue, go to those shows, find the artists that are playing there that are similar to your sound, that you would be great for on a bill, and go to their shows. Like, hit up the booker and be like, hey, I see so-and-so's playing there. Would you consider me for first of three? That's just a great way to just start the conversation, I think.
And you'd be surprised on how often, like just by staying in people's ear, that you might get something on very short notice, because bands drop off bills all the time on short notice. And it's like, oh man, it's 8 days out, I need a first of three. And then all of a sudden, if you have that professional email like that we were talking about, and it's in the box and you have the music and everything, and I've heard you, I'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so, like I could get him on the bill, solo performer, you know, not going to break the bank, and looks like he'll bring out people. Like it comes back around that way too. So being pleasantly persistent too is the way that I like to say it. You know, don't
follow up too soon.
Don't follow up too soon, but stay in people's ears, because, you know, I mean, I field over 150 emails a day on a busy day, and then there's phone calls and meetings and everything else. So, you know, just kind of every couple weeks, every few weeks, if you're not getting a response, just follow up. And, you know, most people will eventually at least respond, even if it's a polite no. Some people won't, but, you know, taking no for an answer gets you nowhere.
I know we've encouraged so much people to go to venues in their areas, support shows, support other musicians as they're trying to put on their own shows. Since that is so challenging right now, are there other places that you can recommend, or that you know of, or that you're paying attention to, where people could either join online or virtually, or other platforms where some of that networking and connecting can happen?
You know, it's really tough right now. I mean, everybody's kind of treading water in the industry. So it's, you know, I haven't seen, you know, I think everybody here knows, like, if you're in the industry, you're going to conferences all the time, and you're meeting people and networking and that sort of thing. And that's where you develop those relationships. So unfortunately, right now, the networking end of thing is on hold. I think that the best thing that you can do right now, you know, because I mean, nobody's developing their career on a forum, right? Or in a comment section. But the best thing you can do right now is develop your ear. You know, get out there and spend all this time. That's one of the biggest benefits of having things slow down in my life, is I'm listening to more music than ever, and like at length, and like back in like true discovery phase. And because that is really at the core of both being a great artist or a buyer, is developing your ear, understanding what's out there, and understanding what's out there for music that you don't necessarily like, that is really good, that can do business, right? Because if I only booked what I liked, I'd be broke. It's so I've had to develop an ear over the years for country music, and like, you know, grindcore, crazy death metal, and K-pop, and, you know, all these different genres that I wouldn't, you know, have on a personal playlist, but I understand it, and I understand who can draw, and that comes from YouTube wormholes, Spotify playlists. Like, get in there, dig in now, because if you come out of this and you, like, one of the biggest things that I see in potential when someone wants to be a promoter is when I can talk music with them. And that doesn't mean, oh yeah, I love this band, oh I love this band too, or it's like, have you seen like this band Baby Metal? Like, they're insane. Like, oh yeah, Baby Metal, I've been watching that, you know. And it's like niche and weird, and now it's like, okay, this person is on that level where they're looking for cool stuff.
Right. You know, we're all stuck at home so much right now, that I would suggest to a young artist is, you're stuck at home, like, work on your music, write, practice, be the best that you can be right now in the confines of your home. And also, you know, on that note, like, if there are other artists that are, you know, that you have played with before, or that are in your area, like, maybe consider doing some co-writes. Like, try to use this time to really work on, you know, your music and your artistry.
Yeah, one of the things that, I mean, if there's obviously like outdoor shows, and people are having backyard shows, and you know, drive-in shows, but I mean, I guess my hope would be that the musicians and the people are supporting the venues that have kind of helped them along the way. And one of the things that I'm seeing in Cleveland is that a lot of the musicians are sort of kind of becoming this ecosystem where they're helping kind of save the venues. So, they've come together and they've written a song called When the Lights Go On Again, and that they're going to put that out on the internet and hopefully help collect funds to save our stages in Cleveland. So, again, organizing and helping to promote the whole ecosystem culture would be a great effort from people right now.
And one thing to mention, it's actually been really incredible. Like there's all sorts of silver linings to what's going on right now. But, before COVID hit, being in the music industry, especially in my market, was like being in a Shark Tank that also had a dogfight going on, with a cockfight going on the ring of the pool, with mines everywhere that could just blow up. Like, it was terrible. And now, like, everybody's being nice to each other. For like, I haven't screamed on the phone at somebody in like 6 months. It's crazy. I'm not a screamer, but once in a while it happens, and it's just like, all of a sudden, all these people, we have a local call with all these promoters that, before, when I'd see them on the street, I was like, oh man, that guy steals all my good punk rock shows around. But now we're like homies. It's like weird, and that's a great silver lining to all this is, for now, we're all friendly.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great point, though, that I think we've all made the joke that, like, remember when our biggest problem was when one of our other venues took the band that we wanted to host, Love to have my biggest problem be that we lost the band to another friendly neighborhood independent venue.
Yeah.
That is a really good point, that right now we're all doing what we can. I think all the venues are doing what they can, all the independent artists are doing what they can, and the promoters as well. And I think the silver lining, if there can be one that comes out of this, is that we've all realized that we are one very interdependent ecosystem, be it other venues across the nation or other venues in your own area. And I think we've all realized that we are a force when we do come together, and that it's nice to be friendly, even though we're going to go back to fighting over shows, hopefully sooner than later. I look forward to that time, as I know all of you. So we are getting to the end of this. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time and thank everyone again for coming. I'd love to wrap it up on a positive note, and let me know the band you're first excited to bring back and book again.
Oh gosh, there's so many.
I know, right? Put you on the spot. You have to only pick one. No, I'm kidding. Anybody you're excited to see? What's the thing you look forward to when you feel like we're going to be able to? Because we're going to come together again. Maybe a little farther off than any of us want. But how does that day look for you?
I think I just can't wait to have people in the space again, together. Like, all the energy that you feel from a live show, from the band performing to the people that are standing next to you. I just can't wait for that moment again. I really miss it. And hopefully that'll come soon.
Well, we're trying our first national show again in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So we've created a seated 64 capacity layout in our ballroom, as opposed to the 500 standing. But we're doing Tab Benoit, and we're doing 4 shows on 2 nights. So I'm excited about that, because it's going to be like, kind of get back at it in some way, but keep the music going.
Yeah, I'm for now, I'm very excited. We have a live stream we're doing out of the theater with Taj Mahal, who is I've been listening to Taj Mahal since I was a child, and he's an incredibly magical being, and I'm very excited to have him, in the venue. What I'm looking forward to in 2021, a lot of great bands who are sitting on albums that are going to be coming out. Billy Strings is one artist to watch. That guy is going to be a massive, massive star. And he's still very much working at the club level. At the Gates is a fantastic metal band, if you haven't heard of them. And looking forward to some shows like one of our traditions that I'm very, very, very sad to miss this week is we do the full shadowcast production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show at the UC Theater. And when we were when it was a movie theater for 35 years, they did it every Friday night at midnight. So we have an incredibly rich Rocky Horror culture here. And although with my COVID-19 that I've gained, I don't think I could fit in my fishnets right now, but looking forward to ditching that and getting it on next year.
That's real.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Someone said Wallows. I love Wallows. Andrea Aguilar. That's a great band. Wallows.
Can't get enough good band shares, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, all the bands.
Well, thank you again so much to everyone who attended today and to our panelists, and again to Cecilia and the whole team at Marauder. Happy Independent Venue Week, everyone.
Yay.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone who attended for listening into this session. Special thank you to our moderator, Kerri, for leading this conversation, and to all of our panelists for giving their time and knowledge. Join us later in this afternoon where we have our final Get Schooled session. It will be, we have 3 students coming that have managed to sort of kickstart their careers outside of the classroom. And they're going to talk about some of the projects that they've been working on and what they're doing to position themselves for a career in live music. Thank you guys again, and see you all very soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.